Welcome to Luna Nectar Universe. We're here with Tegan Wu, founder of Amoda Tea. Hi, Tegan.
Hi, Mia.
And here is Diana, our producer.
Hi, everyone.
We're going to do a signing in, so let's start with actually your sun, moon, and rising sign.
Okay, yeah, my sun sign is Gemini. I was born June 12th. And my moon sign is Pisces, and I'm a Scorpio rising.
Ooh.
Wow, so you have a lot of water signs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's how we get along so well, because we're both.
Okay, you're also a Scorpio.
Yeah, Scorpio sun, water.
Yeah, what's your rising and moon?
My rising is, what is it? It's Virgo, and my moon is Sagittarius.
Oh, okay.
That could also be Sagittarius. I get along with Sagittarius. Oh. Isn't Gemini an air sign?
Air sign, yeah.
Diana is.
Yeah, and Gemini. I'm also, my rising is Pisces and my moon is Cancer, so I also have a lot of water in my sign.
There you go. Tell us who you are, a bit about yourself and what you do.
So my name's Tegan Wu, and I have a company called Amoda. It's a wellness brand based in Vancouver, here in Vancouver. And we make drinkable wellness products. So I just play around with matcha and different herbs, mushrooms and plant powders, and just make latte and smoothie blends.
Tell us how you got started with the brand. What were you doing beforehand, and how long have you been doing this for?
What I was doing beforehand is pretty unrelated, but it was what brought me to Vancouver. So I was the event director for the Walk for Reconciliation. There was two of them, one in 2013 and one in 2017. And so the event brought out 70,000 people who walked the streets of Vancouver. We listened to Dr. Bernice King speak so it was mostly a movement that we created, and just inspiring all Canadians and Indigenous people to come together around the idea of reconciliation and just walking together. And so it was a really big event for us in Vancouver, and the leader who kind of brought it all together is Chief Dr. Robert Joseph. So that was kind of my first experience in Vancouver, which was a very big experience. And so while I was doing that, I was majorly stressed out. It's kind of the gist of it. It was, as you can imagine, directing an event that size, and in a space like that where you're working in an environment that's very emotional. I was learning a ton about racism and intergenerational trauma and all of that, and I was not dealing with it very well on like an emotional and mental level. So I was just very stressed out, and started looking into herbs. I've always kind of been a DIY kind of person. I'd never really took medication. I just always kind of found ways, home remedies, I guess. And so I had fallen in love with matcha a number of years ago and knew about its health benefits. And then I started learning about these herbs for stress called adaptogens, and started mixing them for myself, and just started to notice how much it was helping with dealing with the stress of that job. So then I decided that I would start the business while I was doing that job. So even more stress on my plate that I was working with. So yeah, that's, I guess, the origin story of Amoda. It was very personal and just came from a passion, I guess, with herbal wellness.
Cool. And how did you come up with the name Amoda? What does it mean?
Amoda means joy, peace, and serenity. Uh-huh. It's a Sanskrit word, and the way I got it, I chose a bunch of English words that I thought were, some of our values or some of the values I wanted in the brand. And I had them translated to Sanskrit because I love that language. And I came up with a list, and this one, that one spoke to me and it sounded nice, and I went with it.
Very cool. Very fitting with your brand for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, that's such a beautiful story, and thank you for sharing. I think with a lot of wellness entrepreneur, I think they always the start of their business is always stems from a personal struggle, a personal issue. So, it's great that you're able to turn this passion of yours into a full-time business. So speaking of adaptogens, your teas consist of adaptogens. For those listening who don't know what they are, can you tell us what are they and what do they do? How do they benefit our health?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the most simple way of thinking about adaptogens is just taking the name and knowing that they're a category of herbs, mushrooms, and plants that help us adapt to stress. So they work differently depending on the person, but more or less they have a modulating effect. So in your body, when you ingest the plant, it has a piece that looks kind of like cortisol. So it almost triggers your stress response in a way that will help your body develop a better response to stress, if that makes sense. So over time, it's sort of poking at your stress receptors so that you react more effectively later to stress.
I personally, I love adaptogens, but I don't know a lot about them. Like I've heard of reishi and lion's mane. I personally like to use lion's mane for energy. So how do you know, like, which adaptogens do you work with, and how did you kind of pick which ones to work with?
We like to work with adaptogens in general because they're very safe. So, because we're not a health product per se, I think we're more between your daily drinks and your daily supplements. So we do use meaningful doses of adaptogens, but I wouldn't say they're therapeutic necessarily. So it's good to use adaptogens that are really safe for people to experiment with and kind of find ones, and just so people are comfortable trying the drinks. We like to work with more nourishing adaptogens, things like ashwagandha, reishi, Siberian ginseng, or eleuthero. And I've sort of just come up with what I want the particular blend to do and then sought out which herbs would kind of fit with that. So, for example, with our matcha activate, it was always meant to be a blend that helped rejuvenate you. So when you need a little bit more energy as a generally healthy person, and you maybe don't want to turn to coffee so much, what can I use? So starting with matcha, what's going to go well with that? We chose Siberian ginseng. It's an adaptogen that's really good for people our age, so like 20s, 30s, 40, around there. And it just helps you feel more energized, nourished.
And for you yourself, do you have any particular blends that you use?
Yeah, my favorite, I kind of flip-flop between my favorites. It used to be Matcha Bliss because I'm a huge chocolate fan. And that one's a cacao blend. It has reishi and maca, so it's really gives you a really nice calming energy, and it's really good for your immune system. Recently, I've switched since we've launched our new ones, and you mentioned lion's mane. We have one called Brainiac Chai.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
Yeah, it's really good. It tastes really good, but it's also like really effective. So you can have it and you get right into the zone. And I find you get kind of into a flow creatively or with whatever you're working on. It's a blend of lion's mane, bacopa, and rhodiola and mucuna pruriens. So mucuna, I think, I don't want to nerd out too much on herbs, but it's...
No, nerd out. We want to know all of it.
Yeah.
I don't know any of that.
Mucuna is actually a legume in the legume family, and it's known to some as nature's MDMA.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it gives you that kind of like warm hug feeling, but without the downfall of, I guess the MDMA would have where you kind of crash after you don't feel good the next day. So that, I think that's why some people do call it that. But when you have it, you feel good. You get like nice mood boost from it. And so it works really well with lion's mane and rhodiola, which give you that energy and focus so that you can like get into this zone where you're just kind of in this nice flow.
Oh my gosh, I know I need some now.
Yeah. And it's chai and has coconut milk powder. So, I mean, first and foremost, with all of our blends, we want them to taste good. So
yeah. So I see that there it's a latte blend, right? Correct. So how do you take it? Do you just put it with like water or
it kind of depends. Or? Yeah, it depends on the blend. Like this one with Brainiac Chai, if it has coconut milk powder, so you can add it just to water. You can add it with milk, have a little bit more of a latte. You can add it to coffee if you're a coffee drinker. Wow. But most of them you just mix with milk. I usually use oat milk.
Sounds delicious.
It's really easy.
And what is the cadence of drinking these tea to reap the full health benefit? Like would I, have all those, wonderful feelings that you've mentioned just after drinking at one time?
It does depend. So back to kind of the conversation about adaptogens, they work best over time. So if they build up in your body, and so you'd want to take it regularly, consistently, several times a week for a few weeks at a time to really feel the benefits of the adaptogens in terms of your stress response. But there's definitely benefits you feel right away, especially with the Brainiac Chai. So take that, for example. When you drink it, you'll feel the energy and the focus and the boost in the productivity, like I mentioned. But over time, you'd start to notice benefits with memory and cognitive function and just more on that side. So it's a mix. You get some benefits right away, and then you get some with consistently taking it. But especially with adaptogens, you do want to be consistent with it.
And how did you come up with these blends? Do you have a background of some sort, or did you consult, herbalists?
Yeah, it's kind of been a little bit of both. I didn't have a background in it originally when I first started Amoda. I just read a lot and researched and tested out on myself. And then I got more formal with some studies and finding teachers and mentors and that kind of thing. But I do make the blends myself, and I just do a lot of research, and I use very safe herbs and ones that are well researched. And basically just think of the purpose and the intention of the blend, and then I work backwards and see what herbs have synergies together too. That's really important.
Yeah. So can you do a bit of diagnosis on us, maybe? So like for me, I was crash around 3 p.m. My energy just dips. Do you have anything that could combat that?
Definitely matcha. I mean, I always suggest matcha just as a quick energy boost that isn't going to stimulate your adrenal systems or nervous system or anything like that. So rather than having a cup of coffee to max get back after that slump, but definitely finding an adaptogen that it works for you. Again, like I'm all about the adaptogens, but if you're constantly crashing every day around that time, there's some imbalance there, right? So adaptogens, one of the first things you'll notice once you find the right adaptogen for you is an energy being elevated, and then more balance throughout the day. You just don't want to rely too much on caffeine, but matcha is a low caffeine, but it's still a stimulant in that it does have that caffeine, but it has other buffering things like L-theanine, which is amino acid, so it just chills you out a little bit at the same time.
Okay.
And there's no crash, so you're not going to have it and then crash again at 7 p.m.
Okay, I need more of that.
Yeah.
This matcha, for sure.
Yeah.
What about for immunity, especially now with COVID-19, I think a lot of people are more concerned about boosting their or strengthening their immunity system, do you have any recommendations on tea or herbs that would help, give us an extra boost?
Yeah, definitely. It's a little bit hard question to answer just because and boosting your immune system is not necessarily what happens. And so I think a lot of people, especially right now, are seeing all these advertisements and marketing about supplements and things that will boost your immune system so that you have a stronger defense. And right now, I mean, there's nothing that's really been determined that would help with COVID specifically. But really, if you're looking to strengthen your immune system, you want to strengthen the way you react to stress, and either lowering the stress in your life, or again, adaptogens and herbs and mushrooms for stress, because that will inevitably be boosting your immune system, if you want to put it that way. So yeah, it's really just focusing on your stress response.
No, I think that's a really good point. Because I see a lot of companies and brands kind of make false claims about, their products can help you fight off COVID. And I don't think that there has been sort of any scientific evidence saying that any of these products can. So I think that's a really good point you brought up.
Yeah, I think the best we can do right now is just focus on increasing our general wellness and taking things that are good for us, eating whole food diet, that sort of thing, and just get our defenses up in that way.
What is your favorite adaptogen to take or work with?
My favorite right now has been ashwagandha. I think I've been having that every day. I've been having trouble sleeping, and that one, and Siberian ginseng as well. Siberian ginseng I find a little bit energizing, but I have that during the day, and that helps you get better sleeps at night. And then ashwagandha I have in the morning and in the evening, because it does have a calming, relaxing effect, but it works over time too. So I've kind of been using that just to chill out. And it's in our golden hour, so I've been having turmeric lattes more often recently.
Very cool. What does happiness mean or look like to you?
It's a very timely question for me, actually. I've been doing a lot of work right now, just writing down, like defining what that means, because I think I've sort of been getting my happiness from external sources, and realizing recently, because there's been so much change for me, that I really do need to figure out what happiness means for me internally, so that I'm not sort of relying on these external sources. But I think that's really what happiness means to me, is having that deep joy internally and not needing to turn to external sources and stimulants and things like that.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially during this time, quarantine. We don't really have much external input. So
yeah, exactly.
What have you been doing, during COVID? You mentioned, really good point right now, wellness and taking care of ourselves is so important. What have you been doing as part of your self-care and self-love routine to kind of keep yourself, both physically and mentally healthy during these times?
Yeah, it's been tough for sure. I've always had lots of rituals in terms of like making tea and making matcha that help center me and ground me throughout the day. And those were just natural things. I wasn't necessarily doing them as a self-care ritual. They were just things that I knew in the moment that would help me. But lately, I've never done a consistent journaling until COVID, and just in the parts where we really couldn't leave our homes, I started journaling, and I was looking up different journaling prompts, and really going beyond the surface level answers to sort of, again, like define happiness, define love, define self-love, define what loving someone else means and all those things. And it's been an interesting practice for me because I've never really looked at that. I think as my dad being Chinese and having that background where I've never really looked at my emotions and never really defined these things for myself. So it was kind of cool in the sense that I was given the time to kind of turn internally. I don't know. Did you guys do anything like that?
No, I was like, kind of in awe when you said that. I also started journaling, and doing a lot of self-introspection during this time. Obviously, we can't go out. So I've been kind of just been doing it at home and doing a lot of, journaling. And it's something that I don't typically do, but I find that it's been really cathartic. And Mia, what about yourself?
Well, I used to journal a lot as a kid, but I fell off that wagon for quite a while. So yeah, during this time, I definitely got back into it, and same, like define what is self-love, how do I make myself happy, what am I really looking for, like what am I really passionate about, what do I want to accomplish, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's been very life-changing for sure.
Yeah, I have to say, I feel like obviously with COVID, it's such a stressful and, stressful times, but I think it's a way that it's been helping a lot of people, especially people around me, to redirect their life and kind of help them find, things that they really care about, and help a lot of them find kind of what they really want to do with their life and find new meanings and purposes. So I think, there are silver linings from this. So
yeah, I think most people are finding that there's a different way to live life now, and breaking all those, social norms and expectations.
Yeah, I was also very recently actually really looking at the meaning of mindfulness, because I noticed that I started using that a lot, and I was like, do I even really know? I know being mindful in terms of being considerate of other people, but I was looking at mindfulness, and it was saying, what I was reading was that it's more about being in the present moment and not bringing the past into the future. And I think what triggered this was when you said you've never been a person that really journals. Mm-hmm. And I've been trying to stop saying that. I've never, because I say that too, I've never been a person that journals. I've never been an emotional person. I've never been someone that opens up very quickly. Like, that doesn't matter what I have always been. It kind of matters what I'm doing now. Mm-hmm. And so that's been really a challenge, to just look at right now in this present moment and not bringing the past with me.
Yeah, it's a really, really good point. I think how you speak and what you say to yourself is really important. If you always view yourself as this person who don't do certain things, and you kind of inevitably become that person. So I think, it's really important too.
Yeah. And a friend of mine actually was, we were talking yesterday, and we were talking about self-love practices, and he was saying that whatever his practice is, it's what he does, the last thing he does in his day and the first thing he does in the morning, because if wherever it is on your list of priorities, that's how it's going to be kind of in your subconscious. It's never going to be a priority if you don't make it the first thing you do in the morning. So that was kind of interesting.
I really like that. Yeah. I actually started doing meditation during these past few months, and it would be the first thing I do in the morning and the last thing I do at night. And I've noticed a huge difference in just how I react to things. And do you guys meditate?
Try
to. I have the app.
Yeah, it hasn't. It's another recent practice. I've really started to take it much more seriously. But yeah, just following the app. I do need guided meditation right now. Definitely not. Can't just sit without.
So, Tegan, what are some of the struggles you've had as an entrepreneur, and do you have any advice for budding entrepreneurs?
For struggles, I mean, there's been a lot. I think the biggest one for me getting started, because initially I started Amoda in 2012, so I was 30, and I've always been quite shy, and I've recently broken through it a lot. But when I started Amoda, for sure, I really struggled with that, because I saw, the leaders in business and even my peers too. They weren't shy, or at least they covered it up well. That's what I've been finding as well, is people just cover it up in different ways. But yeah, I was just seeing the successful entrepreneurs were so articulate and well-spoken, very extroverted. They were so good at networking, and I was told so many times that, you need to get out there, and it's about meeting people out there and who you know. And for me, being super scared of going to a networking event because I had no idea what I would say to people, that was a big struggle. And then just sort of combined with being a woman, I guess, and being a Asian woman, I felt like I think I was projecting this, but I felt like people were going to see me as this shy person that's not able to build a successful business. So it was a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, and definitely one of the biggest struggles for me. But as we've grown, and I've sort of grown into myself a bit more, and just talking to other entrepreneurs and realizing that it doesn't matter. What really matters is accepting yourself, and it was very recent where I finally said, I am shy. I've always said I'm just an introvert. I'm just quiet and reserved. But no, I'm shy. So,
and you're okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I'm definitely more okay with it now, and I embrace it when I meet people. Like, I know that I might get a little shy, and sometimes I'll even say it if someone, not just in business but in personal life too. I'll just say up front if I'm feeling a little bit shy, and then it kind of breaks the ice a little bit. But yeah, it's the different personality traits and how you label yourself just makes such a huge difference. And as an entrepreneur, I'm a solo entrepreneur, so, and I feel that even more. I get kind of back into my shell a little bit more because I'm not interacting with people on a day-to-day basis.
I think like you just saying how you're feeling, like I'm shy, like that shows a lot of vulnerability. And I think people, find that really genuine, and they do want to talk to you and be around you, like you're not putting on something. So
yeah,
I think that's even better.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, I flip-flop a little bit because I don't want to label myself as shy. So I was always, just before I started in Moda, I moved to Hong Kong, and that was one of my first big moves. And I thought, total clean slate. I'm not going to be shy anymore. And it didn't work. I didn't want I didn't want to say that I was shy, because then I felt people would identify me as shy. But yeah, it's different. I guess for me, it was just as I got older, I didn't worry about it so much, but it's taken a lot of work as well.
No, thanks for sharing sharing that. And I love your story. I think us, especially as women, especially with younger women, I think we all struggle with, imposter syndrome. And I think that we all have aspects of ourselves which we don't like or reject. But I think that at the end of the day, we have to know that these characteristics are what makes us unique. And you know, you're like, oh, the way that you said shy, like how you thought about being shy, seemed like it was a negative quality, when in fact it's not you. It's not at all. It's a part of you, and it's, you know, I think that it's what makes you beautiful and amazing as a human being. So I love that you come to embrace this aspect of yourself. And I also have struggled. There's so many, you know, characteristics of myself that I kind of struggled with, and as I think like you, as I become older, I'm also learning to just embrace myself for who I am. And it's, you know, I don't see them as characteristic flaws, but just who I am. And I, you know, love every aspect of it. So
the people who accept you for you and like those qualities, like they'll gravitate towards you, and that's what you want anyways, to be surrounded with those types of people. So
it's definitely been easier to, I think, in this wellness space, the people that I've surrounded myself with are more accepting in that way.
What are some other challenges you've faced as a business owner?
I think what jumps into my mind is just what's happening right now and trying to navigate being a business owner and a small business owner. Like Amoda is very small, and trying to figure out how we can be a part of the change that's going on right now. And for me, especially with understanding what white-centered wellness is, and what is we're hearing right now about people not feeling like they're being reflected even in the wellness space. And I myself just, I didn't see that, and I think that that is probably my biggest mistake, I guess. And what I'm learning a lot right now is the fact that I didn't see that there was so much white-centered wellness was how I was contributing to it. And I'm half Chinese, half white, like a European background on my mom's side. And when I grew up, it was more about fitting in, and that fitting in was how to fit in with the culture here, and I guess fit in. I mostly didn't even recognize myself as half Chinese for or my Chinese background for a long, long time. And I even now, when I would go to yoga classes, or when I'm looking at brands on Instagram, I didn't really see what's being pointed out to us now. Like I just, because I've always just tried to fit in. And so I'm struggling with that a bit right now, because it's obviously opening up things that I did that I didn't realize I was doing, if that makes sense. And just now I'm trying to figure out, where does Amoda fit in as a really small company? What can we do? And I want to, even if it's on a small scale, I want what we're doing to be making some sort of impact.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Okay, I can definitely relate with that. Being an Asian business owner myself, well, I'm a quarter white, quarter Russian, but I'm born in Canada, so my family grew up mostly Canadian as well. But yeah, I'm also trying to be more diverse and inclusive with my business in terms of hiring and in terms of branding and marketing, you know, the models we use. So I think it's all a learning process, and we all have to just be more aware and include more of that in our mandate for our businesses.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think as a small business, I felt like I couldn't make an impact, because I mean, we have 5 employees, and you know, some of them are remote, and we're just so tiny. I'm like, how can we make an impact? But I think this is such a good time to start thinking about how we can build this in, so that as we grow, it's just built into how we do business. But you're right, like it's we're just learning.
Yeah, so both of you, brought up some really, really good points. I think this is, a great time to deepen our knowledge about what's going on in the world and, to do better. And even though, both of you are, as you call, like small businesses, I think that, you can still make a big impact on, on our community. So speaking of which, Tegan, what can we expect from Amoda Tea in the near future and in the years to come? And what are your hopes for the company?
That's such a good question. And I need to think more about our long-term vision. I get so caught up in what do I need to get done tomorrow? And even, the longest thing I'm thinking about right now is Christmas, which is actually coming up pretty quickly. But my favorite part of running the business is making new blends and finding out what people need, listening to what they're asking for, and just coming up with new blends. So we have some stuff that we're working on to extend our matcha latte line. And we have also plans to get into some of the bigger stores. So that was a big thing for me, is that these types of products with matcha and adaptogens, they are becoming more common, but it's still they're not accessible. And especially, accessible in terms of price point and accessible in terms of where you can get them. And I mean, people are shopping way more online since COVID for sure. But I think for these blends to really start to help people with their general wellness, as I mentioned earlier, that they need to be more accessible. So we're really focusing on getting into some of the bigger chains across Canada, and then hopefully next year going into the US. That's the plan. But you just watch out. I'm not going to announce it yet, but you'll see us in one of the big chains really soon.
Great. Amazing. Where can we buy your products in the meantime?
You can buy all of our stuff on our website, amodatea.com. If you like to shop on Amazon, or if you're in the US, you can find us on Amazon. And if you're in the East, a great place to find us is in Healthy Planet. They carry a lot of our products. And lots of support all the small local stores. You can go on our website and see all the local stores if you're here in Vancouver or elsewhere, and just support the small businesses. And then in turn, you're supporting us too.
Very cool. Well, I think that's it for today. So thank you so much, Tegan, for coming and talking to us.
This was a lot of fun.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Luna Nectar Universe with Mia and Diana. Get nectarized.